Welcome to Get Offset. My name is Emily, and I want to remind you that you are deserving of joy, you're deserving of comfort, and you're deserving of, the general feeling of calm that you have when your mental health is all right. And unfortunately, that's just not the reality for a lot of us, myself included. I've struggled with depression and anxiety for a long, long time. I fairly recently, and that bundle of issues sought help for it. And it's every day, it's a day at a time. And every day is different. There are days that are good, there are days that are struggled. I'm not here to talk about me. I'm here to talk about resources for musicians and music industry professionals that specialize in mental health, but some of these are more general health kinds of organizations. So keep watching if you need help. If you really, really need help, please check out some of the hotlines. I believe in the United States, that's 988 for mental health. I don't know other countries, but you know that we want you here with us. That is where we need you to be, because you're loved. First of all, I love you. And I know people think that sometimes I give these affirmations at the beginning of videos, the beginnings of videos. And sometimes people think that I'm just joking. I'm not joking. I'm very serious. Maybe I'm joking about being able to actually see you, but in a physical way, but that's just not the case. It's not a joke. I'm very serious about spreading joy, because this world is really, really hard sometimes. But let's go ahead and get into it. The first foundation I want to talk about is something you're familiar with if you've ever really heard of the Grammys or watched the Grammys. I defend the Grammys a lot, and a big reason is that a lot of that money from the Grammys goes into an organization called Music Cares. And Music Cares isn't specific for mental health, though that's part of it. I've had friends who have had cancer treatments helped paid for through Music Cares because they met the eligibility requirements. There's one thing I'd like to say at the beginning of the video. Pretty much all of these organizations have some sort of eligibility requirements, and that is generally that you make at least half your income through music, and even put musician or something similar on your taxes. If you don't meet those requirements, there are other organizations, there are probably other videos better served to you, but please keep in mind that is part of being a musician and getting help for these funds that are set aside for musicians. They mean musicians who don't have other opportunities to get affordable health insurance. And of course, you don't have to not be a musician to not have that. But welcome to this is that's another video. Music Cares. It's part of the Grammy Foundation. It really does actually help people. It provides a wide range of services to musicians and industry professionals in need, not just musicians, but here are the eligibility requirements. I believe they're essentially the same requirements for being a Grammy member, which is a membership that I let lapse, unfortunately. So it's a minimum of 5 years employment in the music industry. I previously had this when I did promotions for live events and then worked live festivals. If you don't have that, the other is 6 commercially released recordings or videos. I believe you need to be included in liner notes for that to work. Submit that stuff to AllMusic. It makes it really, really easy to prove that you had these commercially released singles. And I'm not entirely sure what exactly they mean by commercially released. That can sort of vary by definition, but just apply and see what happens. To be an actual Grammy member, you might need a current Grammy member to sponsor you. I think that they added that in the past few years. The next organization I want to talk about is Backline. This has slightly different eligibility from Music Cares, but it's what I was talking about. To be eligible to file a case, you have to be an adult, 18 years or older, and you have to receive 50% or more of your income from music. This can be venues, working in venues, this can be writing, touring, live event production within the last 2 years. Or you have to have a family member who meets those requirements, like a spouse or a parent. So that's kind of a similar thing. Backline focuses on mental health. That's my general understanding to musicians, crew members, and their families. So again, spouses and children. They offer free and confidential support through their helpline, as well as virtual support and therapy sessions. This can be hugely helpful. It's nice to see one that focuses on mental health, because a focus means you're probably going to do it a lot better than if you were just a jack of all trades and a master of none. Next, I want to talk about Sweet Relief. Sweet Relief provides financial assistance to all types of career musicians and industry workers who are struggling to make ends meet financially while dealing with, illness, disability, or other age-related issues. Talking about the eligibility requirements for that, I'm just going to go through. I have the form in front of me. I'm just going to go through a little bit. Candidacy, it depends on other factors, on the availability of funds and the number of applicants who meet the criteria of industry workers who have recently had a serious medical or mental health condition. That's when it affects your ability to work. So you're probably not going to get disability if you're basically freelance, like a production worker, put up stages all day, and you might not be fully employed. You might not be eligible for official disability. That's where Sweet Relief comes in. So that's waived if you are retired or semi-retired, 55 and up. Another thing you need is to demonstrate financial need. If you can't work, but your spouse makes 6 figures, you're probably not going to be eligible. You need to show that at least 50% of your annual income comes from your work within the music industry. They don't say how they want you to prove that. Music industry workers, though, includes artist managers, tour managers, and crew workers, booking agents, producers, recording engineers, music teachers, and publicists. So that's a pretty wide swath. The easiest way is to make sure that that's how you're filing your taxes. That's an easy way to prove like you are within this industry. For musicians, to be eligible, you have to have regular public performances performed on at least three widely released recordings, audio or audio visual, with the days of YouTube where everything is widely released. I think that probably just means like some promotion money behind it. So perhaps not self-released, but if you're on a label, my label's Donut Sounds or Salish C, I think that probably counts. So 3 widely released recordings, each song is a recording, do remember that, or published on 3 occasions. So someone else recorded and promoted your work, recorded, released, promoted your work 3 times. Musician includes vocalists, songwriters, composers, arrangers, and instrumentalists. So check that out if you meet those eligibility requirements. I'm actually really glad that they are so clear about what those requirements are. Not all of these are so clear. Next, I want to talk about the Roadie Clinic. The Roadie Clinic is unique in that it serves specifically people who would be considered roadies, people who travel with the band to do sound. So like your monitor engineer, your FOH, some of your production crew. These individuals, it's a hard life. It's one of those jobs where you don't get a lot of sleep. You probably have a really poor diet. A lot of people rely on outside influences of dubious legality to stay up for these hours. They are away from their families as much as musicians are. There's a lot going on where you know that if you can't do the job, they'll just find someone who will, and you could lose your livelihood. It's very stressful. So the Roadie Clinic, they have a lot of resources, from financial ones to mental health ones for roadies specifically. And they even have a actual physical location that you can go to if you really, really need it, if they can help you with that, to basically go through and I guess for lack of a better phrase, just get your shit together. And that's not to say that mental health is an issue with getting your shit together, but when you can go someplace and that's just your life for a couple weeks is just figuring it out, that makes a huge difference. That's that making that your job for a little bit, you're going to get a lot farther than if you're trying to do it between setup and tear down, or between tear down and the next setup. So I really like the Roadie Clinic. I think it's a really important organization. I also do want to say, if you're still watching this video and you don't really need these services, wow, you're amazing. Please consider giving to some of these incredible organizations. I think the Roadie Clinic is especially a good one. The next two I'm going to go in really quickly because they're based in the UK. I know I don't have a ton of viewers in the UK, but I have some. So the first one is Help Musicians. They are a charity for professional musicians of all genres, both in work and retirement. They help in times of crisis, but also times of opportunity, giving people the support they need at crucial stages in their career. So that's financial assistance. They have mental health resources and career support to musicians in the UK. Going back to the US, I'm sorry, I thought I had more than one in the UK. My mistake. It's a Musicians Foundation. They have been around since 1914, helping musicians in times of need, crisis, and transition. Grant checks are made out directly to the biller and sent to the approved applicant. That helps you pay your bills quickly. So this is what they do. This is their singular focus. Check that one out as well. The eligibility requirements are not too different from others. You have to be a professional music performer in a time of need, experiencing hardship. So this one, they want you to have worked as a professional musician for at least 5 years in the US. You have to currently reside in the US. You could have worked in Europe, but you need to live in the United States. That's not an uncommon thing with these organizations either. And you have to have filed your taxes as a musician for 5 years. So that's going back to the thing I was talking about earlier. Make sure you're filing your taxes as a musician if you can. If you're making at least half your money that way through music-related ventures, you're a musician. If you want to take me into account, I don't make half of my money from being a musician, but I make all of my money with a few very small side projects, vaguely within the music industry. So I have, thankfully, pretty good healthcare. So I'm letting people who need these resources rely on them. But they're there if you need them. But that's just an example of what that could look like. As far as, everything I do outside of my day job, maybe 25% on a great year is where my money comes from being a musician, from that kind of thing. Just put it in a little bit of perspective for you. The last thing I want to talk about, there are some local organizations, depending on where you live. Some places have these. Seattle has one called SMASH. It's Seattle Musicians Access to Sustainable Healthcare. It provides, obviously, access to affordable healthcare and mental health resources for musicians in the Seattle in the Seattle area. And this includes everything from, as it says in the name, mental health. I believe they also work with some, dental providers. So a lot of musicians will have dental insurance. We still get cavities. We still need cleanings. So that's something that SMASH, I've seen them do. It's a great organization. If you're in Austin, Texas, you have Health Alliance for Austin Musicians, HAAM, provides access to affordable healthcare and mental health resources for musicians in the Austin area. New Orleans has the New Orleans Musicians Clinic and Assistance Foundation. That's the NOMC. So they offer primary care, dental care, hearing screenings. That's very, very important. Counseling services, as well as financial assistance for medical expenses. Great organization. Toronto's another big hub for musicians, especially in Canada. So that's the Musicians Clinic of Toronto. They provide healthcare, mental health resources, primary care counseling services, and resources for addiction recovery, another huge, huge one, and mental health treatment as well. Finally, we'll talk about the Nashville Musicians Association. It provides access to healthcare for people in the Nashville area. They offer a variety of services, including health insurance assistance, prescription drug discounts, really cool, and resources for mental health treatment. If there's something that, if I haven't mentioned your area That doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It just means I had a little bit of trouble finding it because you need to pick a specific city and then you need to do the search. So I'm sure these exist in more places. Other resources to check out include musicians' unions. There's National Musicians Union. There are local musician union branches. These have a lot of benefits, and these kinds of health-related services are just one of them. Well, those are just a few of the resources. Please check out the show notes for video description for a full list, links, and all that. If there are things I haven't mentioned that you know about, please drop them in the comments. I really appreciate that, just spreading the word for any organization that can help people who are struggling with their mental health. Well, to everybody out there, thanks for watching. Thanks for understanding. You are loved. You are important. I promise. I see you. I know that sometimes things are hard. That doesn't mean they can't get better. So I know. I'm sorry. But yes, thanks again. I'm not going to do the whole promotional spiel this time. Check another video if you care about that. But my name is Emily, and I'll see you next time.